So the concept of this session is to kind of tune in to where we're being called for Torah. That's part of the idea of Shavuot. And Torah, in its broadest sense, comes from a root for guidance, from shooting a bow and arrow from the ancient Near Eastern root. And so it's ultimately God's guidance to us for good living. And it's also, particularly this year, for resilience. And part of that is to relax ourselves, relax our throat if it's a little strained. I want to be careful. People have been spilling water, so I'm going to put it over here. I think before I get into any teaching, and then we're going to do a little guided meditation, but I think it would be nice to start with a little niggin, a little melody. Just kind of help us land. Hi, hi, die, die, hi, hi, die, die, hi, die, hi, die, die, die. Hi, hi, die, die, hi, hi, die, die, hi, die, hi, die, die, die. Hi, hi, die, 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 hi, die, die, hi, hi, die, hi, die, die, die. Hi, hi, die, die, hi, hi, die, die, hi, hi, die, hi, die, die, die. Hi, hi, die, die, hi, hi, die, die, hi, die, hi, die, die, die. Hi, hi, die, die, hi, hi, die, die, hi, die, hi, die, die, die. And at my right is Uri, and at my right is Ismael, my left is Gavriel, before me is Uriel, from behind is Raphael, above my head, Shechinatel. B'Shem Hashem, hi, die, die, hi, die, 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 die. That's one of the blessings before we go to sleep at night, when we're opening up to kind of the ministering angels. But what these actually are about is the aspects of ourselves from the Seifirot, from the tree of life. So on our right is Chesed, the source of God. On our left is Gevurah, the force of discernment and strength. Before me, God's light to follow. Behind me is the source of healing, Raphael. So all these aspects are actually in the human body, and it's related to the Kabbalistic tree of life. One of the core senses of Shavuot is opening ourselves up, tuning in. And one of the ways that we do this, and it goes back to the Ari, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, is that he speaks of at Passover. We just finished the Omer. Some of you do the Omer count. So at Passover, he speaks of, we have Mochin de Gadlut, expanded consciousness. At the moment of the Exodus, suddenly, or when we go across the Red Sea, even the common people suddenly, they were all tuned in to God's glory. But what happened right after after the Exodus, we get to the Red Sea, and what happened? We panicked. And he calls us Mochin de Katnut. So we can have peak experiences, and maybe some of them tonight, but how do we keep that going, and how do we open ourselves? So Luria made the entire Omer count, which originally is agricultural, put aside for the offerings for the barley, until we got into Shavuot. But he made it also a time of spiritual preparation. So we'd work to see where we're shutting down, where we're blocked, and how we open up. So we went through all the Seifirot, which are just out of, I don't expect anything in terms of knowledge. I always say, don't over expect what people know, but don't underestimate their wisdom. So I want to be careful about both aspects. So nothing's required here, but how many of you know about the tree of life, the Eitz Chaim, Kabbalistic tree of life? Okay, so it's a little bit. Okay, so interestingly, these basic aspects of life are things like during the Omer period we focus on. So we have chesed, overflowing love and kindness, which balances gevura, which is setting limits. And it said we need to be able to both say yes and say no when it's appropriate. And if we have trouble with one or the other, then in modern body-mind theory, they've actually kind of learned that we tend to get blocked in our hearts. So we need to kind of balance those two. And we also need to balance, so that's the first three that we work on in the Omer period. And then we have the aspect of, it's also in the body, modern body-mind theory, the chakras and the Seifirot all align with the body. If some of you are interested, I have a few of these sheets. You don't need to memorize it, though. When we do the guided visualization, I'll guide you and remind you and guide you through it. But if any of you would like a chart, I have a few charts here. Oh, thank you. Yeah, maybe you could rehook it up.
I don't know where that goes.
Oh, it goes right,
wow.
right there.
Wow. Oh boy. Okay.
It actually was off before I put it on.
Oh.
I think that's good.
Oh, no.
I just try not to.
Yeah, it's coming up. I'm not the right person. I'm not very coordinated. But okay, I think I.
It'll hold. I'll try not to disturb it. Do you like winter? Oh, you got two? Oh, you can. Yeah, so you can. Here you go. There you go. Here you go. Yeah. Okay. So it aligns with the body. So the on the human level, we speak of that we work on as Seifirot. On the right heart, and this actually aligns with the vagus nerve and kind of modern bioenergetics. It's all coming together between the ancient wisdom and modern science. It's very cool. So and the right side tends to be active, and the left side is receptive. So again, the loving kindness is balanced by setting limits, and then if we balance them in a good way, then we have an open heart. And this area of our body is actually the place that we feel emotions and love. It's actually this part of the vagus nerve that connects with the brain. Actually, this is where we kind of like tune in. That's where the love feelings. And then on the right hip is an area of Netzach, which is one of the main central aspects is overcoming obstacles. We kind of prevail. Day to day we have challenges. And it's balanced by Hod, which is a sense of awe. So, but if we're too much one way, sometimes we need one, sometimes we need the other, but we need to appropriately balance it. So we don't want to be a bull in a china closet, just going crazy, knocking things down without sensitivity, but we also don't want to be awestruck, because then we can't move. So again, we balance it, and then if it's balanced, and then in this area is in the generative, the creative area. So if we're going to be able to move forward and create things, we need the balance between the drive to make things happen and all our drives, and then the balance of awe. So we need both, so we balance them. And then if we fully open ourselves, it's the final one on the bottom is Malchut, which is the realm. And ideally, we make L'Takein Olav Malchut Shaddai. We heal the world with the divine realm, and we bring that into ourselves. But if we're blocked, to be open, to be able to be response-able, we need to work on being open. So what I propose for tonight is that I'm going to do a little guided meditation that I first learned from Rabbi Gedalia Fleer, who is a Bratzlaver Chassid, and it's kind of a general opening but it's tuning in to where, if we're we might feel a little tightness or uncomfortableness, and it could be just a visceral feeling, a body feeling, or maybe as we go up, there might be emotional blocks. Maybe we're afraid, a lot of fear going on this year, right? Or anger and things that keep us from being fully open. So just being aware of that, and then at the same time feeling one of the keys that I've learned is that when we do alignment, this is kind of a tshuva, like we do at Yom Kippur, and there's actually a practice when that evening's song I was singing before, we do before bed, and there's a tradition of nightly tshuva, just like we do at Yom Kippur. So kind of reviewing the day and saying, where am I blocked? Where do I need to change? And kind of tuning into that. But the way to make that work is to feel immersed in love, in God's love. Even on Yom Kippur, whenever we do all this, the sins, we're not knocking ourselves down, but we're feeling God's love, and then to love ourselves, even when we've made a mistake, that we can do tshuva, we can open up and do a tikkun, do a healing, from where we're blocked. And so that's a little bit of what we're doing tonight. We're kind of tuning into where we're blocked and then opening, and then I'll guide you back through the Seifirot. The other three I didn't mention on the top is Keter, is like a connection to the higher realms. And it parallels the kind of Eastern religions and the chakras, but it's our own ancient wisdom too. And then the right side of the brain, which is actually a little bit like right brain theory, is called Asilut. That's where we have the flash of insight. And then it's also called Chokmah, and it goes to the left side of the brain, which is Bina, where that flash of insight takes form, which is a little like left brain. We talk about the brain theories. I mean, all of this ancient wisdom, again, is kind of aligning with the ancient wisdom. And then kind of in the natural order, which is called the lightning bolt. It comes through the throat. That's called da'at. You notice that's just kind of dotted lines, because it's not technically a Seifirot, but the throat chakra, the throat center, is where it's a passage through. If we're blocked in any place, it tends to catch in the throat. But all the other things have like a certain focus, a theme. But that's the throat chakra. The one other kind of background, just to keep in the back of your mind, is that one of the important things, as I was pointing out before, is the relationship between these centers. So as we go through it, it's also where are we balanced or unbalanced, like between overflowing love and gevura and setting limits. Where are we in that balance? And whatever's happening in our life right now, we might need to just be flexible with that balance. So are we feeling balanced and open, or are we off balance or blocked? And ideally, if we kind of tune in, and the idea is to be able to open and ground it. And again, feeling our energy grounded is one of the keys to resilience in difficult times. We'll start with breathing, and just to breathe and feel your energy grounded. When people get frantic, like a lot of frantic things have been happening this year, the energy rises up and everybody gets all crazy. So the sense again is just to breathe and ground. Does that make sense? Yeah, so let's start with that. And I would say put the sheets down for now. If later you want to take the sheets with you, welcome. Glad to have you with us. And just follow along if you like. Sure. So I would say first get comfortable, get your feet firmly on the ground. Feel yourself grounded on your sitting. And just be in touch with your natural breathing. Breathing out any tension. Breathing a good feeling and love. Feeling that love within. And breathing that out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just to be. Breathing in, breathing out. And now imagine a golden ball of light and loving energy under our feet. And just sense that light, that loving light under our feet. And as we breathe in, let that light rise up and include our lower legs, incorporating our feet and our ankles up to our knees. And just be in touch if there's any uncomfortableness, any strains in that area. Just feel that loving light soothing that and being with that. Letting that loving light soothe any uncomfortableness and just being with that in our lower legs. When you're ready, as you breathe in, let that light come up to the level of our hips. Again, sending that love and that comfort to any discomfort, anything that's blocked or feeling uncomfortable. It's that loving light fill us, and being with that. And now as you breathe in, let that light rise up to the level of our hearts. Again, surrounding all of our body from our feet up to our hearts. Again, tuning in any areas that are uncomfortable, any tightness, any blocks. Let that loving light just immerse our hearts and our body. Just filling our entire body up to the level of our hearts. And just feeling that love grow and grow. And as we breathe out, feel that loving energy from our hearts spreading through our arms and our fingers, spreading back through our legs, through our feet, and also rising up through our throat and through our crown. And as we're ready, let that light come up to the level of our throats. And any roughness, uncomfortableness, let it soothe our throats. And soothe our entire body from the throat down. And let that loving light now come up to the level of our crown, the top of our head. Breathing in and breathing out. feeling that love just filling us and opening us. Being with that. And as we're ready, let that light grow beyond our crown. Filling all around us, filling the room, just being with that love and that light. And just be with that. Breathing with that loving light. And as we're ready, let that loving light now come and reconnect with the place of the very top of our heads to our crown. And then let that light come to the right side of our brains, the place of chakma, of the flash of insight. And feel that connection of opening to where we're called from beyond, to that flash of insight. And now let that go across to the left side of our heads, of our brain, to Bina, the place where that flash of insight takes form. And just feel that process of where the flash of insight comes in, comes to our left side, and takes form. And now, as we're ready, let that light flow through our throat to the right side of our hearts, to the place of chesed, of overflowing love. And just feel that overflowing love, the overflowing love of chesed, and be with that. Just feeling that. And as we're ready, let that overflowing love go to the left side of our hearts, to the place of gevura, the place of discernment, of setting limits, of form, and being able to say no as well as yes. Be with that place of discernment, of setting limits. Now feel the energetic connection between chesed on the right and gevura on the left, of where we need to balance the overflowing love with the setting of limits, with the saying of yes and the saying of no. Where are we in that balance? How do we need to integrate the two? Bringing love to our judgment and limits and channeling to where we direct our love. If a young child runs into the street, what do we do? How do we show love? By setting limits. So just envision other times where we need to channel the love, or when our judgment needs to be filled with love as well. And as we refine that balance, we can feel the openness in our heart center, the heart center of Tiferet, of beauty, and balance in the open heart of Tiferet, balancing and integrating chesed and gevura. And just breathe into that open heart, a heart center of Tiferet. Breathing into our own heart center and what it is we need to have an open heart on this night of Shavuot. How do we balance our open heart and open it up? And being with that, breathing into that and feeling the love, the open love of Tiferet. And as we're ready, let that light energy now go to our right hip, to the place of Netzach. Feeling the love, but also the drive to move forward in life, not to be stuck. What do we do when we need to accomplish things? Feeling that drive of Netzach and being with that. What do we need to do with our life here and now to move us to accomplish what we need to accomplish? And as we're ready, let that light energy now go to our left hip, to the place of hod, of feeling awe. Once we've climbed the mountain, we also need to look and with awe at where we are. The awe of hod, the awe of kadosh, 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 the awesomeness and holiness of our life and of God's creation. So tuning into hod in the left side of our hip. As we do that, and when we're ready, let us also feel the creative tension between hod and Netzach, the sense of awe and the sense of the drive to accomplish. How do we accomplish things with sensitivity of awe of life? So we don't just drive in and break everything. So we're careful. But we're also not stuck on the awe so that we're all struck. We need that balance. How do we need to make that balance in our own lives and what we need to do and how we need to be? Bringing some of the awe of Shabbat into the weekday, and yet in the weekday when we need to accomplish, still to be able to accomplish things. So just tuning in on where we need that balance in our lives. And just being with that, tuning into that. Essential part of what we need to tune into for this Shavuot. And as we tune into that, let us drop down to our pelvic area, feeling the area of integrating the drives and the sense of awe, so we can create and be generative in ways that serve life, serve God, and serve our lives in those that we interact with. Feeling that balance and that integration, the drive to accomplish, and the sense of awe. The place of our creativity, where we can generate our foundation, our yesod, from which we need to operate. It's also the place of birthing. If you want to heal the world with the realm of the divine, it needs to go through all the aspects, through our crown, balancing the flash of insight with taking form, coming through our throat, balancing overflowing love, in judgment of setting limits, balancing that so we can have an open heart, and taking that same love so we can then balance our right hip and left hip of accomplishing and having a sense of awe, being creative and generative, bringing that fully into our day-to-day lives. Tuning into wherever we're blocked from being able to do this, opening as much as we can to be an open vehicle for bringing that healing of the divine into our day-to-day lives, and breathing with that. Hi da hi hi da da hi da hi da 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 hi da hi hi da da hi da da da. And at my right is Michael, my left is Gavriel. Before me is Uriel, from behind is Raphael. And above my head is the Shekhinah. And above my head, Shekhinah. Oh, do, ya, da, da, da. Hi, da, ya, da, da, da. Hi, da, da. Hi, da, da. Hi, da, ya, da, da, ya. Let's take 3 breaths. And if you haven't already, when you're ready, open your eyes. So this is just a little taste of this opening up process. I mean, there's many spiritual tools. I mean, the kind of this guided meditation through the body is one of them. The evening practice before the Shema of the daily review and doing our own personal tshuva, feeling it's God's love, and kind of, again, it helps if we can tune into our body. There's many ways for doing that. I've also done it with movement and dance to really kind of, feel how we incorporate these in our lives. So there's, many different tools for kind of opening up, but it's ultimately very real. It's not just some theory out there, but it's something to tune into with our lives. So just want to open up for any responses of maybe where it was opening for you, maybe where it wasn't opening, or how it kind of landed for folks. Or questions.
One of the things I tried to do,
Yeah.
it's not as regular as I wish it were,
Yeah.
was to end the day by reviewing things that I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
I'm just contrasting that with ending the day with things that I can improve, but I guess there's room for
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Of course, the things to be thankful for is also part of the Birkat HaShachar,
Right.
which we do in the morning.
Right.
It really hits the high points.
Yeah.
But in a way, both of them can be complementary to a spiritual practice.
Right. talking about here is an essential part of spiritual practice is combining keva and kavanah. We have a lot of powerful rituals, but to really enliven them, we also need kavanah. That's the way we align ourselves, with the intention that we bring. So if we align ourselves with feeling thankfulness, as well as review, feeling the love, all part of it. And our practices are so amazing. So, the night, there is a tradition of review of doing tshuva, but then at the end we say the Shema and feeling our oneness with God, with ourselves, with life. And also, again, it's good to include love and thankfulness together. And then, traditionally, what's the first thing we do when we wake up in the morning? And we say, Modeh or Moda'ani. Thank you, God, for restoring my nishmati, is both soul, and it's also the same root as breath, so that I can breathe. And in fact, in the Moda'ani, it actually ends with Rabba emunatcha, is great is your belief. And I like the interpretation I first learned from Rabbi Daniel Siegel, that you can read it as God's, and Solomon Schechter also talked about this, God's faith in me. So God restored my breath, my soul. And so that showing that God had faith in me to serve God for another day in the world. So if God has faith in me to serve him for another day, that kind of reinforces my own kind of sense of faith. So both the going to sleep and the waking up in the morning is very powerful. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I might also mention, if any of you if you want to keep the sheets, you're welcome to, or if you're not going to keep them, give them back. And also, I sent this out to a listserv to the temple, but I'm going to be doing an online class this summer on different spiritual practices, both meditation and movement and some of the rituals like we were just beginning to talk to. So if any of you are interested in that online class, I have some sheets on that too that you're welcome to. And thank you all very much. It's been great being with you. And may this be an enlightening holiday. Yeah. So you notice the pathways are numbered also because the interaction between the Seifirot are just as important as the interacting with the Seifirot themselves.
So
Great. So thank you very much.
there's like a 10-minute break now, and then Howard Zilber will be in here, and Robbie Klein will be on to his session in the
All right. Chag Sameach.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sure, you're welcome to that. Absolutely.